What's up, everybody? Aaron Feely back again with more White Sox Daily on a fine Thursday morning here. We got a couple more bits of news from the Chicago White Sox, particularly pertaining to the huge trade that, of course, dropped recently involving sending Luis Robert to the New York Mets. And some payroll updates for the White Sox, including a quote from Chris Getz. And we'll just kick right off with the most recent acquisition of the Chicago White Sox in Ronald Acuna Jr.'s little brother, which is basically, once again, what we're just going to keep referring to him as Luis Angel Acuna pretty much has done next to nothing in Major League Baseball to establish himself as anything other than Ronald Acuna's little brother. I still really strongly dislike the return that they got for the Luis Robert trade, but I'll try to be slightly more partial with it today as we just kind of discuss what they're even going to do with him. You go out, you make this trade, you send Luis Robert over, and you acquire, to call him a middle of the road player would be a little bit generous considering what he's produced at the major league level to this point. But also another infielder, really sound defensive infielder. I'll give him, lots of credit for that. He's what Luis Robert is to center field, Luis Angel Acuna is to the middle infield. The problem is the Chicago White Sox have absolutely no holes right now at middle infield. They don't really have any holes anywhere in the infield. You can presume that it's going to be Murakami at first base, Miguel Vargas likely at third base, Colson Montgomery at shortstop, Chase Mydroth at second, and Lenyn Sosa fitting in wherever they need him as kind of the utility guy. So you trade Luis Robert, great, you get this player back. Okay, maybe you're hoping that with sheer potential, a former top 100 prospect, a guy that's been killing it in the Winter League down in Venezuela recently, maybe there's still some untapped potential there. But then where do you play him? I mean, at this point, it's looking like you're probably going to have to use him as the Luis Robert replacement in the outfield. I mean, you're going to assume that he's going to make the 40-man roster. Brooks Baldwin, who's been kind of a utility guy for the White Sox and a majority, spot starter out in the outfield when the real outfielders are, need a rest day. Right now, he'd be in line to be the starting center fielder, and all of the dread that comes with that predicament for 2026. Probably Pereira in right field. So Luis Angel Acuna is going to probably compete for one of those two spots, more than likely, instead of, trying to compete anywhere in that infield that's already fairly loaded for Chicago. Probably their best position group right now. Now, obviously, they've got a great series of backstop performers with Kyle Teel, Edgar Cuero, but with catcher being just kind of a one position. I'm not really going to call that a group. But yeah, the infield definitely looking significantly better than the outfield. I think Acuna's best shot is to try to draw on some of his minimal experience as a center fielder and try to compete with Brooks Baldwin for that center fielder role come spring training. We are less than a month away from when pitchers and catchers will report, and then spring training starts just a couple of weeks after that. So we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, certainly still a fascinating trade that they've went and done here, as we'll go ahead and transition right on into the next bit of this topic and the next topic that we've got to talk about today. In that, is anyone else starting to get the feeling that maybe the White Sox got bamboozled a bit from recency bias? Acuna, as I just mentioned, has been doing very well in the Winter League, the Venezuelan Pro Baseball League, back home. Just recently had a 4-home run game. Now, one of the key things that has held him back in high minors and in his limited major league runs has been power production. He has not hit a major league home run. He has barely been able to hit more than a handful of minor league home runs in AAA. He has just not been able to get the power going quite like his older brother is able to do with great ease. So there was a little bit of optimism that was created and a little bit of national buzz when he started crushing the baseball back home in this Venezuelan Winter League. And then it all culminated, of course, in the 4 home run game. The problem is, that doesn't mean a great deal of much relative to what he's been showing you here in AAA and in the major leagues. It's not quite the same crop of talent, and it's not quite the same playing atmosphere either. So this national buzz, you'd hope, didn't actually sway a professional general manager of an MLB team. But the worries are there that a little bit of recency bias may have jumped in and helped persuade the White Sox to make this deal because of his ascension through the Venezuelan Winter League. And you can only pray that somehow they're seeing something that we're not seeing and that this will carry over into him being able to produce like this in the major leagues. If he can hit like 10 home runs as a 1 to 2 year, band-aid in the outfield while we wait for Braden Montgomery to come up, I would take it. If he can hit 7 home runs, you might be willing to take it. Okay, if you play great defense and can get on base, I mean, if he can bat .230 and hit 7 home runs, we might have to just say, oh, you know what? That blows us away. Above expectations. Good job. At this point, I guess. Certainly not what you would have gotten from Luis Robert at that position. And then that kind of leads us right into the next topic we've got here, which is that we learned today Chris Getz with a statement about how convincing the New York Mets to take on the full $20 million salary for Luis Robert in 2026, will also become a free agent in 2027, says this gives us more financial flexibility to go bring in more talent. We're going to be very active. First of all, I'll believe it when I see it. There's a certain amount of desire to just point and yell liar at the top of your lungs when you hear a quote like that from a Chicago White Sox GM, and I don't believe for even a second that that's Chris Getz's fault. I absolutely pin that on ownership for the Chicago White Sox. I think Jerry Reinsdorf is atrocious. I don't think he runs the Chicago Bulls very well. I think he absolutely backpedaled and stumbled into the fact that he purchased them at the exact right time, as he just had Michael Jordan land in his lap and for some reason still gets to take some semblance of credit for the 90s run the Bulls had. 2005 absolutely just fell into his lap as well, absolutely backpedaled into that, has done nothing, not a single thing to even hint that he's capable of putting together any sort of a talent assembly or an upper management team or anything that could ever resemble that 2005 squad or run ever again. He's awful, terrible, cheap, useless old man of an owner. Hate Jerry Reinsdorf having his fingers on more than one professional sports team in my home city. Of teams that I personally root for, it's atrocious. Cannot wait for him to be out of here. But yeah, to put it lightly, so that was kind of what the statement was, that this will free up some of their books, which is utter horse manure. The Chicago White Sox were over $111 million under the luxury tax. After losing $20 million in salary by dumping Luis Robert onto somebody else, and then Acuna, who presumes to make the 40-man roster, will only cost $1.4 million this coming year. That now puts the Chicago White Sox at 27th in Major League Baseball in spending, just above the Cleveland Guardians and Tampa Bay Rays, some teams that you should be spending significantly more than that in a sport with no salary cap. Those are tiny market clubs. Again, just utterly, utterly abysmal. For reference, the New York Mets, another secondary team in a large market, kind of comparable to the White Sox, no, are spending over $375 million in payroll, 379 to be exact. They're over $100 million over the luxury tax because they've got an owner that will just fork it over in an attempt to just go out and create the most competitive ball club he's capable of fielding. Now, they're still the New York Mets, so obviously they screwed it up last year because, of course, they did. They're the Mets, but there's at least something that resembles an attempt going on over there. The Los Angeles Dodgers, another team in one of the top 3 largest markets in America that has to share their city with another ball club, is spending infinite numbers of dollars to go out and purchase every single free agent that has ever been a free agent in Major League Baseball. There's guys that died 20 years ago that I think the Dodgers are about ready to go offer a contract to. They're going to sign every single player that has ever participated in professional baseball. And the Chicago White Sox continue to shop at Goodwill to see if anyone there can play right field this coming season. It's abysmal. It is an awful experience for the fan base, and everyone deserves better. And coming soon, we might be getting better because the takeover is just around the corner. And as you look at what some of these other wealthy owners in these large markets have been able to do, the one silver lining in all of this is that it kind of creates a bit of salivation and buzz for the eventual takeover coming soon as 2029, for Justin Ishbia to take over the reins as majority owner of the Chicago White Sox from Jerry Reinsdorf, pry it from his disgusting, terrible, atrocious money handling hands into an owner that has a proven track record of being highly aggressive. He and his brother, obviously also the owners of the Phoenix Suns, who one of the first things they did when they bought that team was they went out and they spent huge contracts bringing in big-name superstar players. They got Kevin Durant. They brought in just a whole host of big-name free agents. It didn't end up working out, but again, much like the Mets, it was at least something to see effort being put forward, to see money that we, the fans, put forward in our ticket sales, in our merch sales, in our emotional investment, in your MLB TV subscriptions, in your cable TV subscriptions, all the advertisements that show on your cable channel there in Chicago. That money is directly created by your views. So even if you're not paying the White Sox directly, even just by having cable and watching those games, you're getting them the money indirectly. And in some way, that's being paid back to you with something that resembles effort. Unlike whatever it is that's happening in Jerry's world right now, where he just puts it in his pocket, laughs at you, and rubs his hands together, and then tucks your hard-earned cash into his bunk beds at night. It's abysmal. Cannot wait for Justin Ishbia to take over. It should be a phenomenal 2029 for White Sox fans, and it cannot get here soon enough. Let us know how you're feeling about that possibility in the comment section below. What your thoughts are on the potential of, do you think Chris Getz is actually going to be given the green light to use some of this extra cash from trading Luis Robert to go out and get some more players? Do you think they will actually be highly active going forward? Let us know in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.